Hi, today we're going to discuss James Herriot. Do you know who is James Herriot? Many people do, many vets do. In fact, many vets actually became vets because of James Herriot. I know that because I'm one of them. So when I was living in Singapore, I used to read James Herriot books like All Creatures Great and Small. And there's pictures of driving along the countryside, helping animals that or just flooded my mind and say, yeah, if that's what a vet does, I'd like to do that. The problem with James Herriot is that it says a lot talking about the love for animals, but there's very, very, very little commercial aspect of it. They don't talk about overheads, they don't talk about salary or anything like that. So it is very, very old-fashioned really. And in my opinion, now, after working for 15 years, I believe James Herriot, the whole ideology of it, should belong in history. It's really, really not modern phase of vet medicine, really. Sometimes it's like James Herriot's the dream of being a vet. The dream actually becomes into a nightmare, because the reality is that the legacy of James Herriot is it's a bit of a misguided image that talking about long hours with poor working conditions was something to aspire to, because that's what James Herriot did. He worked long hours, get in the middle of the night, treating Mrs. Jones' cats and getting treated with biscuits and cakes, and saying that they're all happy and everybody's happy and that's the way to go. That, in my opinion, after working here for about 15 years, is a very nostalgic view. Countryside driving with sort of appreciative customers, but reality bites. Working as a vet, we do have long hours, pretty poor financial reward, okay, and that's a topic for another day. And we do have customers that complain, sometimes a lot, more than others. So, the problem with James Herriot, okay, is that he has painted a picture that's not really real, that doesn't reflect reality. And when people become vets because of James Herriot, the expectation is really, really misguided. And sometimes, and that is why people are disillusioned, because that wasn't what they were thinking of. It's like getting paid in cakes. I mean, I would love to get paid in cakes, but that doesn't buy the food, it doesn't pay the rent. The impression that we get from that is that on two aspects, for the vets, they think that that's okay, that's what they aspire to, this person who wrote the story so nice, and taking care of animals, and for the love of animals, it's all good, and that's how we should be striving towards. Long working hours, just be satisfied, just feel as though we are doing this for the animals. The problem with that is that the reality, the public also potentially perceives that. They say that, hey, you're a vet, you should love animals. Not really James Herriot, that is what he does. And he doesn't talk about getting paid, he doesn't talk about getting sorting out his rent and bills and things like that. He gets paid in cakes or eggs, and it's okay if you can't pay him right now because you can pay him later. So the impression is that people become vets, or the vet industry is doing it for the love of the animals and actually work for nothing. And I know it sounds extreme, but certainly that is a sort of feedback that we've had before. It's like if an owner comes in with a cat that needs treating and they can't afford it, and we are assume or presume to be able to or to have the need or the necessity to actually care for the cat and give medication, because that's what we do. It's for the love of the animals, it's not about the money. The reality is that, how real is that? I mean, to be really, really honest, how real is that? How can we pay anything? How I can pay my Amity, I can pay my car tax using love for the animals, and I do love animals, so totally different. That's the problem with James Herriot. Okay, so I have become a vet certainly under the influence of James Herriot. Being in this profession for quite some time already, I also know how that is not true. Okay, and I certainly wouldn't wish this for the next generation of vets to become that. And maybe they're getting more savvy. Maybe that's why the vet as a profession, not many people are wanting to be vets, or they're wanting a much more realistic work-life balance. Like the new graduates these days, it's not uncommon for them to say that I do not want to do any on-calls. no long hours, I want work-life balance. Maybe they've got it right. Maybe the whole idea of James Herriot was just a very, very nice story of an idea of what it could be, but that's not real, and that should be kept in history books, not present day ideology. But that's just me. That's all for today. I hope to see you on the next live event. This is Amity.